slice his throat and bleed him like a pig. I'm gonna slice his guts open, spill his intestines out in the dirt, beat him in the head with a baseball bat until his fucking eyeballs fall out.
Wow.
6 years after his 1995 cult classic debut Kids, Larry Clark released Bully in 2001. This film follows the true life events that led up to the 1993 murder of Bobby Kent. Understanding that this is a true crime that deals with real people, I'm only going to be focusing on the portrayal of these characters throughout the film. This film is set in Florida during the summer of 1993, where we follow a group of teenagers that plot the murder of one of their friends. Prior to these horrific events, we are introduced to a number of antics committed by the victim that ultimately led to his betrayal. I first saw this film at around the time it came out when I was a teenager, and I have to say that the level of realism throughout the film is pretty impressive. I was a huge fan of Kids growing up and was already familiar with Larry Clark's work. The way that he's able to capture the world of teenagers is unlike any other director that I've ever seen before. He does this a lot by using a lot of handheld shots, which gives you that hazy, drug-infused type of a feel. It almost comes across as if you're watching a documentary as opposed to actors portraying characters on film. Although this can be considered a pretty attractive cast, I found it very hard to find anything to be attracted to. I'm not sure if it's the sweat or the lack of makeup, but there's just something very dirty about these characters. And that's part of some of the appeal as far as the realism that it's grounded in.
Hey, I'm Heather.
As a teenager at around the time this film came out, it felt very relatable. Outside of murder, I was doing the exact same thing that I'm seeing these kids do. We were smoking weed, hanging out all day, hooking up, finding anything that we can do that could fill that void of boredom. This portrayal of authenticity is ultimately what propelled this film to be one of my favorites of all time, perhaps even being Larry Clark's best film to date. This film opens up with Lisa and Allie having their first encounter with Bobby Kent and his best friend Marty Puccio. Marty Puccio is Bobby Kent's best friend, and he can be viewed as the central character in this film. He's been bullied by Bobby Kent damn near his whole life, and throughout the film we get to see glimpses of this behavior. Their relationship is centered around control. Bobby gets off on having his foot on Marty's neck, and for anyone else for that matter. He's a college-bound kid with a promising future, meanwhile Marty is a high school dropout, so this further heightens the superiority complex that he has. He surrounds himself with people that he views are lesser than him, so it becomes easy for him to always feel like he has the upper hand. Like Marty, Lisa Connolly is also a high school dropout, and Allie Willis is a single mother who has a history of prostitution. Both are sexually assaulted by Bobby at some point, which heightens the motives to have him killed. In this cast of seedy characters, Bobby is by far the dirtiest of them all. This can be shown in multiple scenes as he aggressively washes his hands. No matter how deep the soap soaks inside his pores, the dirt is still there. The scenes of Bobby washing his hands are adjacent to something horrific he did or is leading up to do. So for me, this is a metaphor for him trying to wash his sins away. The relationship between him and Marty is built up for the audience in order for us to have that final judgment call. We see him force Marty to dance on stage at a gay club for money, but then he soon ridicules Marty for his sexuality soon after. Based on information that came out in the real life case, there's evidence that shows that Bobby Kent himself may have had homosexual tendencies. Psychology has shown that people who have hidden behaviors tend to project those behaviors onto the people surrounding them. We can see this when he tries to force a homosexual tape on Derek and Allie at different points in the film. In the case of Allie specifically, when she refuses his advances, it leads to assault, which comes to no surprise because what we've learned about Bobby Kent thus far is that his sole agenda is control. We get a scene where Bobby's talking to his dad in the bathroom. His dad does not like Marty and he wants him to stay away from him. He wants his son to open up his own business and become his own boss, in which Bobby is on board, but only if he can hire Marty.
If I do this for you, can we hire Marty?
On the surface, we can look at this as a gesture from a guy who is looking out for his best friend and wants to give him some form of financial stability. But deep down, this is just another form of control. By hiring Marty, he's doubling down on the perception that he's the boss and he gets to tell Marty what to do.
Who's that, boy? Is that yes, sir, boss? I will buy that booze for you now, boss. What I thought, bitch.
By transferring the abuse from adolescence into adulthood, it's an opportunity to have this level of superiority for a lifetime. It has nothing to do with Marty's well-being, it's all about control. I'm pretty sure that we've all met someone like this in our lives, and when you're able to identify it, the best thing you can do is walk away. Just cut all ties, block them out of your life, and move on. It's a tougher struggle for teenagers because your emotions are heightened. And if you're not receiving the proper guidance to help you get out of those type of situations, it can lead you down a path that you never would have imagined for yourself. And this is the perfect segue for us to focus our attention on Marty. Brad Renfro gives us one of, if not the best performance of his career. The way that he's able to capture the insecurities of Marty Puccio just showcases how talented this guy was. Just the body language as far as how he's showing Marty is his shoulders are always slumped, his head's always down. The way his posture is when Bobby is around really showcases the dynamics of these two characters. One of the best scenes in the film is when Marty is at the beach with Lisa and the plot to kill Bobby Kent ensues. The level of emotion that he's able to display really makes you feel for this character's situation.
He's always been like this. He's always just beat the fuck out of me whenever he wanted. There's not a goddamn thing I can do about it.
The rest of the cast is pretty impressive as well. One thing that Larry Clark did brilliantly is bringing on a cast of characters who have a level of infamy of their own. Nick Stahl and Brad Renfro are both child stars, which we all know from history comes with its own struggles. Rachel Miner's family has a history in Hollywood, and she was actually married to the biggest child star, Macaulay Culkin, and I'm sure that comes with its own set of circumstances as well. Bijou Phillips is a child of music industry royalty and was able to build up her own reputation with her nightclub antics in the mid to late 90s. Larry Clark credits her for getting the film funded just based on her name alone. Strangely enough, she was accused of being a bully by co-star Daniel Franzese while on the set of shooting the film. Ironically enough, I find it fascinating that these behaviors are taking place on the set of a film that centers around it. With this being Daniel Franzese's first feature film and his first experience on the set of a movie, the homophobic and body-shaming slurs ultimately held him back from coming out to the public for years. That just further showcases the effects that bullying can have on someone. And this is not a campaign to attack Bijou Phillips. She ultimately apologized and everyone's moved on. But I do find it fascinating as far as how it ties in with bullying. Another fascinating casting choice comes with the casting of Michael Pitt. Most of you might know him as Jimmy Darmody from the HBO series Boardwalk Empire, but if you're around my age, and you might know him as the freshman that Jim was dating in Dawson's Creek. This guy steals damn near every scene that he is in. His character has no ties to Bobby Kent at all. He's only there mainly because he was promised drugs. I thought he was funny, a little annoying, but he definitely served his purpose. Sadly, the mental instability of his character has somehow bled into his real life as he was recently hospitalized for his antics. He played my favorite character, Jimmy Darmody, on Boardwalk Empire, but it was sadly cut short just based on rumors of his behaviors on set. All in all, I do wish him the best, and I hope he has a speedy recovery, because he is a great actor. And last but not least, how can I forget Leo Fitzpatrick? He is the first muse of Larry Clark with his portrayal of Telly in the 1995 film Kids. When I first saw this film, I had no idea that he was going to be in it, and I was pretty shocked that I saw him. I don't think I've seen him in anything else outside of his portrayal in Kids up until that point. But for the short time he's on film, he gives a very powerful and dominant performance. He's the closest thing to an audience member outside of everyone. He understands the severity of their actions and seems to be the only person with a level head.
Look, you people need to understand some shit here.
What?
Another thing that brings this film to life for me is how naive these teenagers are. They have no regard for the consequences of their actions. After they take care of Bobby Kent, we slowly start to see them self-destruct into their own demise. And this is what leads to their conviction. If you haven't checked out Bully, I highly recommend it. It's Larry Clark's best film in my opinion. If you are a fan of the film, I really hope you liked the video. I had a hell of a time going over it. I'm definitely going to be talking more about nostalgia-based films that have helped shape my love for filmmaking, and I hope that you're around for it. So if you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time. Peace.
You an asshole.